Hey everybody, Mr. Regan here, and if you're watching this video, we're going to be looking at how we're completing our sim lab number 2, velocity change and force direction. In this lab, we're going to be looking to answer this big question: how does the direction of a force affect the change in an object's velocity? We're going to be gathering evidence to answer our question in our sim. Now, you've been exploring our sim up to now and even running a previous lab looking at many things like velocity and force, amongst many other things. And now we know that a force is required to change an object's velocity. So we're going to need to explore how the direction of a force affects an object's change in velocity, or those 5 changes in an object's motion. To do this, we're going to be looking at how the sim works in the 3 stages we can use to see how to exert a force in a specific direction on an object. Now, the 3 stages we're going to be looking at within the sim are the build stage, the run stage, and the analyze stage, and all the ways that those stages work. So let's take a look. In the build stage, you'll know that it's the build stage because here in the top left corner, it will say build. You can add different objects onto your page. This little pop-up window will show different velocities that you can give your object in different directions. For example, if I move the toggle to the right, you'll see these little blue tails show up that tell you that this object is going 7 centimeters to the right. You can also have it move up and down by moving the vertical velocity, again, left or right. So now it's moving 7 centimeters per second up, with the tails behind it telling you the direction is up. This allows you to set up different objects in different ways. In the run page, once you hit it, you can see the object's velocity in action. You can also reset the object's velocity and look to apply very specific forces to it. For example, if you hit play, you can click on the force window here to actually hit your object. For example, I might want to try to hit it backwards, or I might want to try to hit it forwards, down, or up to see what kind of effect it has on the object's motion. You can also set up the force before the object actually is in motion. For example, we know it has a specific velocity. If I hit prepare force, I can now choose the specific force I want to apply by clicking through the arrows on the force window. Again, adding more or less force to see what kind of effect it would have on the object's velocity. So I can hit the exert force button and you'll see there's a change in its velocity. The last page is the analyze page, where you can see everything that occurred. Down here at the bottom, you'll see we have a toggle button that allows you to rewind, if I click and rewind, and see everything that happened. So I can see the moment where a force was applied. In this case, it was 80 units of force to the left on an object that was moving. Over here on the right side is our data table, where you can see what kind of changes in velocity happen. For example, this object started at 4 centimeters per second. That was its initial velocity at the very start. You can see that a force was applied, and then there was a change in velocity. In that case, the current, or that change, was negative 2 centimeters per second, making its current velocity 2 centimeters per second. You can even see the amount of kinetic energy that was applied within the actual force. So that's how we use our sim, and more specifically, how we use the 3 stages. So how are we going to use this within our lab? So now that we know how to apply a force without using a collision, we're going to look at how to use our sim and explore how direction impacts and has a change on an object's velocity. So for our lab, you're going to need to apply a force to an object to create the 5 velocity changes. Okay, so apply a force to create the 5 velocity changes. But before you do this, you're going to predict the direction you need to apply a force to exert. You need to exert that force on the object to create the 5 changes. For example, if we're looking down here, I'm going to demonstrate how to do one of these within the sim. The example is I need to get an object to start moving. And I need to make a prediction, or predict the force, the direction of the force, to make an object start moving. My 3 options for all 3 velocity changes are: I can apply a force in the same direction, opposite direction, or any direction. So if I have an object that I want to start moving, I might predict that I need to apply force in the opposite direction to get it to start moving. That's my prediction. That's what I think is what I need. That's what I'm going to try to test out in my sim. I'm then going to go into my sim and I'm going to set up a test for each of the 4 predictions. Now, the example I'm going to show you here, I'm going to dive in so you know how to do the other 4. So to do this, I'm going to apply a single force in the direction that I predicted to get the desired velocity. So I'm going to add my object. I'm going to apply whatever force I need and test to see if it came true. For example, if I have my sim here, I'm going to take my object and I know that I need to get it to start moving, meaning it's not moving at all. So I'm going to give it no velocity. And I know that I need to apply a force in an opposite direction. That's what I predicted. So I'm going to go to the run stage and here's my object and I'm going to have to apply it in the opposite direction it's going. Well, it's not going anywhere. So I'm just going to hit, click on the object, hit prepare force, and I'm going to apply it in the opposite direction. I'm going to exert that force and what do you know? It starts to move. But I'm curious because there really isn't an opposite direction when an object isn't moving. Are there other forces I can apply? So if I apply the force up, does it start moving? It does. If I apply the force to the right, does it start moving? It does. And if I apply the force down, does it start moving? It does. So if I go back to my prediction that I made, I was actually wrong. I said the opposite direction would cause it to start moving. And in reality, it's any direction would be required to get it to start moving. So that's going to be your job for each of the different changes in velocity, starting with speeding up, slowing down, and so on. You'll need to set up an object and you'll need to apply a force in some direction to speed it up, apply a force to slow it down, stop it from moving, and move in the opposite direction. You're first going to predict what direction of force do you need and then test it out. So your job with your group, first make all your predictions, then go in and test out your results. See if you can figure out what directions actually needed to cause those changes. So we're at the survey section. Do we understand how to add force in different directions to an object within the sim? So do I know how to use the force window, how to apply and exert the force? Do I know how to predict and collect data in the data table on how the direction of the force changes an object's velocity? So do I know how to make those predictions first? Do I know how to run the sim and collect the data to see if my prediction came true? If the answer is yes to both those things, put your X in yellow, in green. If one of those things is confusing, put it in yellow. If both is confusing, put red. Good luck.